Over the past few weeks, we've been discussing the arts. The art of being unbothered, the art of being detached, the art of creating boundaries, the art of waiting, and of being present. And if you've really been applying these things, you've probably noticed something shifting, not in just what you do, but in what you tolerate. Things don't just sit the same anymore, do they? Certain conversations, they feel off. Certain environments, they're starting to feel heavy now. And you know, that made me think to myself, was I learning how to live? Or was I learning how to stop performing? Because, you know, the more I leaned into these arts, the more I realized it wasn't about habits. This was about identity. Detachment wasn't just about being able to let go. It was no longer attaching myself to things that weren't aligned. Boundaries weren't just about saying no. It was more about recognizing what no longer had access to me. And presence wasn't just about slowing down. It was more about becoming aware of what I was actually carrying. And then I had to ask myself a real question. Was I actually living? Or was I performing a version of myself that I thought was acceptable? Let me explain. I watched this young lady. The name of her channel is Seasoned Dialogue. That's her social media handle. She's on TikTok. I've started following her on YouTube, and I think she's a poet. Like, she speaks beautifully. Her vibe is chef's kiss. She is amazing, right? And I was scrolling through. I really wasn't scrolling through Instagram because I don't really care for Instagram, like talking about it. I just went on to check out my analytics, right? Because I had posted a video last week, and she was speaking on basically what I want to go into about performing. And she was like, you know, you claim you have peace, but like in all actuality, you're performing peace is basically what she was saying. She was like, you were performing being unbothered. You're performing detaching and faith. Oh, and I felt I felt I was being convicted in some areas that I was teaching about myself, because I'm not perfect. There were certain things that I was talking about that I felt like I had been completely healed from, but I was still dealing with certain things, you know? And when she was talking about certain things, I don't know why, I felt a weird feeling in my gut. I was like, I don't like how she's talking about that. And I wanted to really examine that feeling that I was getting, that weird feeling in the pit of my stomach. Was I actually just performing certain things? What was I performing peace in some areas of my life? Was I performing being unbothered? She really made me do a deep dive and self-examination. Like, wow, that really opened my eyes. Because every single time I would discuss the arts topic, I was almost tested in a way, you know, like if I was speaking on the art of being unbothered, well, then here comes something or somebody coming along that was seemingly meant to bother me. And I don't know if you guys experience this too, because, you know, when you begin to start to say, okay, you know what? I am now going to be doing this thing moving forward. This is what I'm going to do. And it seems like all of a sudden, you know, you're like, oh Lord, I thank you for the courage and the strength and the emotional stability and being able to be emotionally grounded to handle this, that, and the other, to not be unbothered and to create boundaries and things like that. And then all of a sudden, here things come, here people come that seemingly test those things that you are now proclaiming to be. And some of these things we pass with flying colors. And then some of them, it still requires a little more work. But I want to make sure that we are actually embodying what we are saying and what we are doing on a regular basis, and not just performing those things, performing peace instead of actually being at peace, performing faith instead of actually trusting God, performing alignment instead of actually being grounded. And the truth is, a lot of us didn't learn this on our own. We didn't learn about performing. We were taught that. From little kids, we were taught, hey, look what I'm doing. Look what I did. Hey, I'm going to jump through hoops so you could give me attention. Hey, look at me. Hey, look at my grades. Check this out, Mom, Dad. Look what I did. We're performing. It's performing to get the attention that we want, the accolades and all of these things. We were taught these things, right? And whether we do good or bad to gain attention. Attention is attention, right? Look at me. Look what I'm doing. We're performing. And this is where it might get uncomfortable, because it needs to be said. There's a difference between God and the spirit of religion. This is a topic I really wanted to talk about this week, because this week was supposed to be the last week of the arts, right? This was supposed to be the art of romanticizing your life. But God dropped it in my spirit like a couple of weeks ago to switch it up. And I just kind of been going back and forth. Okay, God, what do I need to talk about? How do I need to address this? Whatever you need me to talk about. And I had a bunch of different topics, because this would be my transitional week into the new series, right? And God dropped it in my spirit to talk about the spirit of religion. The spirit of religion doesn't always point you to God. It often points you to performance. It teaches you how to look right instead of how to be transformed. It teaches rules without relationship, image without intimacy. And what happens is, people who are genuinely searching for God end up encountering performance instead of truth. The impact of that on non-believers, that could push people away, because instead of feeling loved, they feel judged. Instead of feeling invited, they feel like they'll never measure up. So they walk away, not from God. They don't walk away from God. They walk away from what was presented to them as God. And if we're honest, truly honest with ourselves, a lot of us were programmed that way. Programmed to believe, if I do this, I'm accepted. If I mess up, I'm not. If I dress this way, I'm accepted. If I don't dress that way, I'm not. If I look this way, if I look the part, if I act the part, then I'm accepted. But if I'm not, if I don't do those things that are presented to me, then I won't be accepted. Programmed to perform instead of connect, to repeat instead of genuinely understanding. And it started to feel like a system, like a loop, right? Like a loop, a pattern that keeps focusing on behavior and appearance and image and all of these things, but disconnected from relationship. The best way that I can describe it is like a matrix, right? Have y'all ever seen the movie The Matrix? I know a majority of, if you're watching my channel, I'm pretty sure you've watched The Matrix, where these people are, they're going through life with these patterns and these traumas and these cycles, these loops, these behaviors, and they're walking through life just seemingly asleep, You wake up in the morning, you get dressed, you go to work, you make the money, you go home, you repeat. It's a cycle. It's a loop. You do the same thing all the time, every day, without question. We don't question anything. We do the stuff. Do what we tell you to do, because you're in the matrix. You're a part of the system now. This is how you look. This is how you dress. This is how you act to fit in. This is what you do. This is how you act. This is what you need to be and see, and how you react and respond and look and think. I had a dream a few months ago, and it was the same dream for 2 months. Same dream over and over again. And it was crazy because it was the same people. I was with the same group of people. One young lady that I was with, she had like reddish hair. And we would go to different churches. And in those churches, there were the pastors, preachers, whoever that was speaking to the people. And they were leading under the premise that they were leading the people to God, to connect with Jesus. And in all actuality, these people had entities attached to them, and they didn't realize. So they were being influenced by low vibrational entities, by demons. They were being influenced, and they didn't realize it because they were part of a system. They were part of the matrix. And in that system, this is how it goes. This is what you need to do. This is how you look. This is what you need to be. And nobody questioned anything. Nobody searched for themselves. Nobody went to look, to seek and find the answers, and to actually build a real and genuine relationship with God. So God reminded me of that. God dropped that in my spirit. It was like, remember the dreams. Remember the dreams. And I was like, okay, here we go. They were operating from a space and a place that they were accustomed to, and they hadn't even realized it, that they realized that they were operating out of a spirit of religion, where you're so focused on doing things right that you never stop to ask, am I actually connected? Are you actually connected? Now, I'm not saying all churches are like this. I'm not saying that at all. But there are a lot of Christians, there are a lot of churches who are operating from that spirit right now as we speak. The church that I attended last week, it was beautiful. It was beautiful because the pastor was speaking about genuine connection, genuine connections with people. And the thing that stuck with me the most was when he said, when he speak with people, he says, what's your story? And a lot of times people respond, oh, well, I went to school here, I went to school there, I did this, I did that. These are the things that I have done in my life. These are all of my accomplishments. This is what I'm currently doing. This is where I would like to be. This and that. No. He's like, that. A lot of people, that's the first thing they tell me. They start to tell me whenever they say, when I ask them what's their story, but I don't care about that. I don't care about your accolades and what you've done in life and what you've accomplished. I want to know your story. Where are you from? Who are your people? That's how we say it. Who are your people? Where you come from? How many brothers and sisters do you have? How was your childhood? How were you as a child? Are you still doing those things that you did when you were a child? Are you still having fun? Like, what is it? That's what I want to know. That's the conversations that I have with people. I want to know those things. Like, who are you really at the core? Not what you've been conditioned and programmed to be, but who are you at the core? The core of who God created you to be. That childlike spirit, that inner child that you resonate with so deeply that you may hide and conceal because you're so busy trying to perform. Where is it? And when I look at Jesus, right? When I look at Jesus, I don't see someone who supported that religious system, that structured system. I've seen someone who disrupted it. Man, Jesus didn't move like the religious leaders at all. Jesus didn't speak like them. He didn't perform for approval. He moved from alignment. He sat with people that others rejected. He wasn't hanging out in the churches and stuff like that. He wasn't doing all of that. He challenged the system. He challenged systems that prioritized image over truth. He didn't come to reinforce performance. He came to break it. He came to break the matrix. Don't get caught up in the matrix, y'all. Don't do it. And that's where this is leading us. That's where we're going. Because this next season, I don't want to just talk about faith. I want to talk about the difference between faith and performance. Yes, we're going there. I want you to understand the version of faith that connects you to God and the version that keeps you stuck in the cycle. This April, during resurrection season, we're getting ready to go into it, y'all. We're stepping into a series that I like to call Faith versus Performance. We're going to talk about it. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. The spirit of religion and how it subtly shows up. How religious programming keeps people disconnected while thinking they're doing everything right, and how to break from it. So you can actually experience God. You know how many people haven't encountered God because they're so busy performing for God? So maybe this entire series, the arts, it wasn't just about learning how to move differently. It was about waking up. It's time to wake up, people. Wake up. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's the vibe we're stepping into next. Faith versus performance. Break the cycle.